All right, this video is on angles. So we've talked briefly about types of angles, okay? And these are other types of angles, but they're angle pairs, angles that relate to each other. It's not like the obtuse, acute, right, straight, okay? So if we're looking up here, remember how we name angles, okay? So it's telling us the measure of angle LAM is 43 degrees. It tells us this in the problem and also tells us this right here. So it tells us twice, okay? And then we want to know what is the measure of MAK. So MAK is where this question mark is over here, okay? Now, the piece of information that's going to be key is that we have angle LAK right here also. So remember type of angle this is going to be. If it's straight like that, straight angles equal 180 degrees, okay? So this from here to here is 180 degrees altogether, okay? So if that's 180 degrees altogether, then to figure out what the missing angle is, I just need to subtract. It's 180 minus my 43 to get 137 degrees for my missing angle, which makes sense. It has to be obtuse. It's largely like that, okay? So this has a name. If you have two angles, or you might have three or four, but you have more than one angle that add up to 180 degrees, this is what's called supplementary, okay? So a lot more vocab. Make sure you're writing all down. Draw pictures if you need to, okay? So supplementary angles, a little picture I would draw for this is a straight line with something coming out of it, okay? Here's the supplementary angle, so it's two or more angles that add up to 180. So angles that add up to 180, okay? So that's supplementary angles. So write that down. Make sure you have that vocab word down. All right, there's another one that's closely related to supplementary. It's this one. So, again, they tell us angle KLO is 51.8 degrees. And then look, we know that NLK right here, this whole angle here, thanks to this little box, we know that means the whole thing is 90 degrees, okay? So if this part's 51.8, I can subtract to find this part. So 90 minus my 51.8. Don't forget to do your borrowing. Don't forget to borrow correctly. Remember, decimals, you got to line it up correctly, so that's why I added that 0 after the 90. All right, so I get 38.2 degrees, okay? So these are called complementary angles, very similar to supplementary, complementary angles. And if I was going to draw a picture of this, I would draw a little right angle, again, with something splitting it into more than one angle, so two angles like that, okay? And they are angles that add up to 90. Angles that add up to 90 degrees, okay? So those are our two types of special angles. We got complementary adding up to 90 degrees and supplementary adding up to 180, okay? So make sure you have this down in your notes. This is what we're going over today. All right, so here's our two. Remember, complementary is 90, supplementary 180, okay? Adding up to those. The biggest mistake people make is just mixing them up. The way I remember it is C comes first in the alphabet and 90 comes first as far as numbers go, it's lower. S obviously is later in the alphabet, 180 is a bigger number, okay? You can come up with a different way if you want, but that way, feel free to use it, okay? All right, so let's do this first one together and then let you try some on your own. So it says the measure of ABC is 45 degrees. What is its complement? So remember, complement means 90 is what they have to add up to. So if I do 90 minus the 45 at the other angle, its complement also has to be 45. 45 plus 45 is 90. All right, so go ahead and pause it, try these next three on your own, and then hit play to check your work. All right, this says supplement, so that means it's 180 minus the 112.7, 0.3, 7, 67.3 degrees for that one. Our next one is a complement again, so it's 90. So 90 minus 34.75, so that means it's a 0.25, 55.25 degrees. And our last one, a supplement, again means it's 180. 180 minus 3.2, it's going to be a 0.8, 4, 176.8 degrees, okay? So check your work, make sure you didn't make any mistakes. Biggest mistake, like I said, is to mix up complementary and supplementary. Although hopefully you didn't mix it up since it says it right at the top of this page right here. Okay. here's some more types of angles here. So I'm going to take this C right here. I'm going to move it around. So notice we have, remember what this is called? This is called intersecting lines. They're intersecting at B, right? And it creates 4 angles. Hold on, let me moving the whole line instead of just C. All right, there you go. So I'm moving this around. So let me move it to about there. Okay, so notice we have 4 angles. We got this one, this one, this one, I got this one. So anytime you have 2 intersecting lines, or a segmented line, or 2 segments, you have 4 angles. So what do we notice about the angles? Well, hopefully you'll notice that this red and blue angle are the same thing as each other. They're both 94.62. And then the green and the black angle, they're the same as each other. They're both 85.38, okay? Now watch as I move C. No matter where I stop, the red and the red, and the green and the green, always the same as each other. Okay, so no matter where I stop, red and green are always the same. Even I'll go really small here. Look, see the numbers 9.9, 9.9, 170.1, 170.1. Okay. So no matter where I am, the angles across from each other are equal. Okay. So angles across vertex are equal. Do you remember what our equal word is? Congruent. So are congruent. Now remember, write equal next to that if you don't remember what congruent is. Okay, so there's our congruent symbol. Okay, so these are called vertical angles. So here's our vocab word down here, vertical angles. I would draw a picture with it. So draw 2 intersecting lines, and they're the angles across from each other. It doesn't matter which ones you mark. Don't mark both of them because it looks like all 4 angles. But they're across from each other, and what's important to know is they're congruent. Okay, so they're equal. Okay, congruent angles across from each other. Across common vertex. Remember, a vertex is where they're meeting, these corners of the angles. Okay, so vertical angles are across the common vertex and they're congruent. That congruent part's important, they're equal to each other. Okay, now remember, we already learned about supplementary angles. Supplementary angles are when you have a straight angle like that, 2 angles to make it up. Look, this and this. If I add those up, what do you think I'm going to get? 180. So no matter where I move this to, these 2 angles next to each other add up to 180. So remember, we already talked about this one, but we'll do it again just to reinforce. Remember, they're angles that add up to 180. Okay, and anytime you have a straight angle like this that's split up, you're going to have supplementary angles. Okay, all 4 angles obviously are going to add up to 360, right? Because we got these 2 angles on this side that were 180, and then these 2 over here are also going to be 180. So all 4 together are 360. Not as helpful. It's more helpful to know that the 2 separate ones are 180. But good thing to know. Alright, so this figure is not drawn to scale. But based off what I've given you and your knowledge of supplementary angles and vertical angles, you should be able to figure out all the other angles. So we got 35 degrees is that angle right here. So that means that its vertical angle would be over here. And if it's vertical, that means it's also 35 degrees. Okay, so I know that because it's vertical angle. Okay. Then look, all of these are straight angles along here. So if that's 35, this one over here has to add up to 180. It's supplementary, right? Supplementary. Okay. So 180 minus my 35 is 145. So that makes this 145. And that makes this also 145 because this one is supplementary to this one. And it's also vertical to that one. So it has to be the same as the one across from it. So see how if I give you one angle measurement, it can help you figure out the other 3 in an intersection. All right, use your information that you know so far to see if you can figure out the missing angles here. Okay, you got the 48 degrees, figure out the others from there. All right, so this one's 90 degrees. And then we know all 3 have to add up to 180, so you could do that. Or we could figure that these 2 also have to equal 90. If that's 90, this also has to be 90 over here. So either way, you should be able to figure it out up to you which way you want to do it. No matter what, you should have gotten to that's 42 degrees. Okay. So using your information of what you know about complementary and supplementary. On this one, no vertical angles, right? Because none are completely crossing. So that didn't help us much here. All right, go ahead and pause it. Try to fill in your missing angles here. It's not drawn a scale. This says, this is the symbol for perpendicular. Put that in your notes. And remember, perpendicular means that they are intersecting at a right angle, which you're also told by the little box. So you're kind of double told that. But good to put in your notes. All right, so go ahead and pause it, fill in your missing angles, and then hit play to check your work. All right, so if this is 34 degrees up here, the one directly across from it is also 34 degrees because those are vertical angles. If this is 90, the one directly across from it is also 90 because they are vertical angles, okay? And then this last angle here, you could figure out either by adding up 90 and 34 and taking it away from the 180, or this has to be 90, so you could just do 90 minus 34. I think that's the easier route. So 90 minus 34 is 56. If that's 56, the one directly across from it also has to be 56 because they're vertical angles. All right, so there's our missing angles. So basically, all these angle rules are like rules to a game of missing angles, okay? So here's another game. Think of all your rules. Our rules we know are complementary, supplementary, and vertical. So think about which ones you know, right? You can either write them over here. Complementary, remember, is 90 split up, and it looks like this. Supplementary is 180 split up, and it looks like this. And vertical are equal, congruent, and it looks like this, okay? So there's those angles, and there's those angles. So use your knowledge, pause it, and try to figure out what's missing. All right, so we got 52. The one across from it is also 52 vertical angles. 72, the one across from it, also 72 vertical angles. And then the last thing we're going to have to use is supplementary. So these three angles, you can pick any three along a straight line, have to add up to 180, okay? So 180 minus 72 and 52 together is 124. So if I subtract that, I get 56. So this is 56 degrees. If that's 56 degrees, this is also 56 degrees because of vertical angles, okay? So in that one, we didn't use complementary, but we had to use supplementary and vertical for games. Let's leave our little cheat sheet part up there as we try our next couple. No, well, that's not super helpful. Let's erase it because it's getting in our way now. But on this one, we don't know either angle, but we have an x for each one. We got 4x and we got x. And we know that the two angles together have to add up to 180, right? Because they're along a straight line. They're supplementary. So we know that 4x plus x has to equal 180. Well, remember, 4x plus x is actually 5x. And then I can just solve this. I can do reciprocal, reciprocal. Nope, that's not right. 56. Oh, I'm going crazy. 36. Yeah, because 15, 180. I can do it out and see what I get. 36, good. All right, so if x is 36, that means this angle over here is 36. And then you can either do 36 times 4 to get this part, 144, or you could have done 180 minus 36, because remember they have to add up to 180. You also got 144. Now, it's also not a bad idea to do both, because obviously if you get different answers, you might have done it wrong. So this was helpful to do both, because then we can see if we made any mistakes. All right, last one. Pause this, try it on your own, and then hit play to check your work. All right, so these both have to add up to 90. So we got this plus this equals 90. So 3x plus 2x is 5x. We still have the other 5. Those aren't like terms, so I can't combine them. The opposite of 5 is negative 5, so I get 85 over there equals 5x. And then the reciprocal of 5, got 117. So x equals 17. So 2 times 17 is 34 degrees. And then I could just subtract it and get 56 degrees, or I could do 17 times 3, which is 51, plus 5, also 56. Either way, I get 56 degrees and 34 degrees. Lovely complementary angles.